Spencer, good afternoon to you. How are we?
Good afternoon, Jim. Good afternoon, Simon.
It is always good to see you. Simon, would you like to respond to Spencer, who's wishing you good
It's always
afternoon?
nice to see Spence.
That's lovely. That'll do fine. Many people tuning in for another round of boxing, if you like, another hour-long boxing chat. And of course, the great and the good in the world of boxing are going to be joining us. Not least, Britain's new world champion Dalton Smith is going to be joining us very shortly. Spencer, we'll get to that. In the meantime, Simon, you've mentioned this more than a few times actually in the course of us talking boxing. But Martin Turner, my old chum at Sky, was the F1 director, but listens on a regular basis to this show. Simon is absolutely right when he mentions Hunnigan destroying Don Curry, who at the time was considered the pound for pound greatest boxer in 1986, one of the best ever UK fighters' performance in the United States. Of that, there is no doubt. I watch it on a regular basis. Ask Simon why it's such a standout for him.
Because I was young and I had a choice between two fights. I could have gone to see Barry McGuigan versus Steve Cruz or Lloyd Hunnigan versus Donald Curry. And I was 18 years of age and I'd elected to go and see Lloyd Hunnigan versus Donald Curry. And I got it right because obviously that Barry was dehydrated and lost in the car park in Las Vegas. Yeah. And Lloyd Hunnigan created boxing history by doing something that no one imagined that he could possibly do it and absolutely destroyed Donald Curry. That's the reasons why.
Biggest upset.
And I like Lloyd.
Biggest upset on foreign soil, without a doubt. That was a huge upset. Donald Curry at the time was pound for pound #1, an outstanding fighter. And yeah, he ripped up the script. Lloyd Hunnigan that was a great victory.
Spencer, in the fullness of time, we will be joined by Dalton Smith, and we'll talk about what he achieved at the weekend, which was, to say the least of it, quite considerable over in New York. And he is now a world champion as a result. Agit Kabayel joined Simon and myself on the show during the week, after, of course, at the weekend, stopping Damien Kaniba in the third round to retain his WBC interim heavyweight title. And now, all of a sudden, there is talk that next for Agit Kabayel could well be Alexander Usyk. Would you go with that? Is that logical boxing talk in your view?
I don't know if commercially that sort of works out. I don't know where the commercial value in that is. If that fight lands in Germany, then that might be a different talking point. I was with Frank Warren yesterday, actually, and they were so surprised at how quickly that venue sold out there for Kabayel. I think there was 12,000 tickets sold in 2 days. They said they could have doubled, trebled the size of the venue. So he's a huge hit out there. So, yeah, that fight could possibly happen. And if anyone deserves it, it is Kabayel. You know, you look at his record and the victories over Kiba last time and Zhele Zhang, Frank Sanchez, Makhmudov, the most feared heavyweight at that time. He took him out in 4 or 5 rounds. So, yeah, this guy deserves it. He deserves the opportunity. He's worked hard to get there. And if Alexander Usyk wants to clear up this modern era and, you know, this legacy defining fight would be with Kabayel.
Simon, I'll get to you in a second. Frank Warren joined Simon and myself yesterday. Of course, he promotes Kabayel, and we put it to him: your man against Usyk.
We'd love to make it, and we've had discussions, and we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, it's all going to be down to Usyk, and there are a lot of Ukrainians in Germany, so it'd be a massive sellout. I mean, we sold that show out. Agit sold that show out in, I think it was less than a day. And the atmosphere was unbelievable. My son George, who was there, I couldn't go. I wasn't there because I'm still struggling with this bloody virus I've got. But my son George said it's the best atmosphere he's ever experienced at an event, as did a lot of people, experienced people who were out there, TV people from Queensbury. It was just an amazing atmosphere, and we know it'll go from strength to strength. But whatever happens, Agit will fight again, probably in May or June. It'll be in a soccer stadium there. And I hope in the opposite corner will be Mr. Usyk.
That was Frank Warren with Simon and myself yesterday. Simon, I know you like Kabayel a lot, but Spencer, did you or did you not rate Kabayel's performance all that highly? I'm not sure you did.
Look, when you look at Kabayel when he beat Zhele Zhang, Frank Sanchez, Makhmudov, you look at that and the way that he systematically wore them down, broke them down, body shots, and there was a lot of boxing IQ and ringcraft around those performances.
Got dropped though by Zhele Zhang.
Yeah, he did. But Zhele Zhang very heavy, recovered and showed a lot of character there. But in this performance, I think that the homecoming, the crowd got to him. He was a little bit reckless in his approach, and he nearly paid the price, by the way. He got cut back quite badly in the first round. He was taking silly shots against a tall guy with a long lead and a good backhand as well. But he turned it around. He showed that he's got that grit, that determination. He turned it around and he eventually stopped his opponent, albeit I think it was a little early, a little premature. But I think the writing
He
was
thought
on,
that as well. He did say that himself as well.
Absolutely. The writing was on the wall. He started getting into some sort of rhythm, but he's got a lot to learn from that. He's got a lot to take from that, because if the Alexander Usyk fight does get made, and it is in his hometown, and it is in Germany, the crowd are going to go absolutely wild. And now he's got to learn to control his emotions, because the emotions play a huge part on the performance.
Kabayel told us, Spence, that if Usyk doesn't happen, then he would be game for any of the Brits who'd be in the mix, including Fabio Wardley, including Daniel Dubois.
All the belts is here. All the belts is here.
Yep.
Please give me the chance for the big belt. But when Usyk is busy, when he fight with Deontay Wilder, why not? I can fight with the UK guys. Give me Fabio Wardley or Daniel Dubois. I'm ready.
He's ready. Simon, in your view, Kabayel, should he go in with Dubois? How dangerous would that be for Daniel?
Well, it's interesting because we had Don Charles in the studio the other day. We were talking to Don, and Don was very upfront about the opportunities for Daniel Dubois. And he said, Fabio Wardley, easy work for Daniel Dubois. Talked about Daniel Dubois and some of the challenges that he's been through, that we, myself and Spencer and Paul Smith spoke to him about it. When I threw Kabayel at him, well, let's say, okay, what about Kabayel? There was a pause and a silence. So, yes, he beat Kabayel, but that was Don towing the line in terms of his performer charge. So that would be a great fight. That would be a great fight. The easy fight for Frank to make. The easy fight for Frank to make is Agit Kabayel versus Fabio Wardley.
I actually spoke to Frank yesterday about that fight, because I said, look, you've got this. You're in this situation where Daniel Dubois is the chairman of the Who Wants Him club, because he hasn't got a strap round his waist. So that makes him a very dangerous commodity. And if you put him in, you go, you don't want to fight this guy unless you have to, unless you're going to get something from it. And Agit Kabayel falls in that bracket as well. He's one of those guys that you go, people don't really want to fight because he's got no value there. He hasn't got a belt. He's not holding a belt, but he's the most dangerous. So you've got probably the most two dangerous heavyweights out there. And it's a fight that Frank could make while we're waiting for these titles to fragment and see where they all land.
I'm surprised. Ultimately, Agit Kabayel should be getting his opportunity to fight Alexander Usyk, because Usyk is a WBC belt holder. He shouldn't have the luxury of just swanning off and fighting Deontay Wilder. And Deontay Wilder being given an opportunity that he isn't entitled to anymore, because he's not current in terms of his performances.
Right.
Whereas Agit Kabayel is the WBC interim champion. He should be getting his opportunity in the same way that Usyk talked about the opportunities that were given to him when Anthony Joshua fought him back in the day.
I think Frank was actually saying that they have until November, because when mandatories are up, when purse bids had to go in, and I think the WBC is in line, and it is this April time that has to do. So we'll see what happens there, whether Agit Kabayel fights for a vacant title or gets elevated to champion from WBC interim champion, or whether Alexander Usyk steps up. Will he vacate or will he take the fight?
Directly after our conversation with Agit, I got Joe Gallagher texting me. He said, interestingly, he didn't mention Lawrence Okoli, didn't it? Because Lawrence Okoli's ranked, what's he ranked? Number one?
Number one. He's number one in
Agit Kabayel
WBC.
mentioned Daniel Dubois, mentioned all the Brits, Moses Atonement, didn't mention Lawrence Okoli, doesn't fancy him. I said, well, maybe he doesn't fancy you guys.
You mentioned your chat, actually, with Don Charles, Spencer. You and Simon were in company with him on Talk Boxing. And the boys have fished this out, because this is interesting. Daniel Dubois is now working under a new revamped team that doesn't include Don Charles. And Don was a guest with the boys this week and challenged the idea that huge change can be brought about for Daniel.
There's nothing I can categorically look at you in the face, yourself. There's nothing that Sam Jones is going to change. When he said that there's going to be no more gatherings, there's not when we get given a fight, we will sit down and discuss. This is what we've always done. This is what every outfit does. From my observations, Daniel needs his father close by.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, it really does.
We've seen that, yeah.
Okay, right. Irrespective of Mr. Sam Jones coming here saying this is going to change, nothing is going to change. I dare him. Stan Dubois will always play his role and call the shots.
At the time, what did you take from that?
Nothing really, because I already knew it. So I've seen him working up close and personal. I've seen Stan Dubois in the gym. I know what an influence he is in Daniel's life. He's been there from the beginning, and it's not going to change.
So what's the point of changing the team?
Well, because they just that's what they do. You know, they've done it with Martin Bowers. Martin Bowers brought him through and took him to a certain level. He lost to Joe Joyce. They switched trainers. They went to Shane McGuigan. Went from Shane McGuigan, went to Don Charles. If something goes wrong, then they switch trainers. They look for something new and fresh.
But Sam's a different point when Sam's not training him. And I think Don got the wrong end of the stick to some extent in that answer, because what he was getting the needle with the fact that Sam was suggesting that there was going to be a sea change. Sam didn't say that. What Sam had said is that we won't be seeing situations, because Don knows, absolutely unequivocally knows, that those gatherings prior to a successful outcome or prior to an unsuccessful outcome are not the right thing for a fighter. Right?
But I think, Simon, what Don was getting at there was if Stan Dubois wants another gathering before his next fight, it will happen. That's what he's saying.
But then again, I don't think that anyone thinks that will happen, because if you talk to Frank Warren and you talk to these guys that absolutely were up in arms about the gatherings, they don't think they're right. They don't think they're appropriate. They think they're not they're useful to do. And I think that's universally understood now between the camp, Stan included, that that's not the way we're going to go forward.
Yeah, sure.
Now, if he changes his mind, Sam can't legislate for that. But I think Sam's been able to solicit, from my understanding, an understanding from people that we go forward differently.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean that Don Charles has been diminished in any way. It just means that Sam Jones was an interface that wasn't there when Don Charles was there.
Yeah, sure.
Well, you can watch that full episode of Top Boxing on the talkSPORT podcast. The big fights just keep on coming, do they not? And here's another. The last day of this month, January the 31st, in the northeast of England, in Newcastle, Josh Kelly will look to become world champion in a headline bout against the IBF super welterweight title holder, the Russian, here I go, Kelly Akram Murtazaliev. But this guy can fight, as far as I gather, but so can Josh. And I'm delighted to say Josh joins us live on the show this lunchtime. Josh, good afternoon. How have the preparations been going?
Good, Jim. Thank you, mate. Everything's spot on. Everything is absolutely spot on.
Yeah, Josh, you've been waiting for this opportunity for a while now. Since that loss to David Avanesian down at welterweight, you went up to super welter, and I think it's fair to say we've seen the best of you, mate. 7 wins on the spin, and you get yourself into a great opportunity here. But this is a formidable champion, a very heavy-handed champion, and a tough guy to beat, coming off a good win over Tim Zhu last time out, third round knockout, who's a quality fighter himself. You know, your back's against the wall here.
Well, to be honest, all the pressure's on him. He's coming over to me. He's the world champion. I don't feel as though there's any pressure on me, and I feel like I'm going to go out there and perform. And these styles suit my style. Like, everyone wants to come and try and knock me out and trying to put hands on us. So the faster he comes, the harder he tries to punch, the more he becomes more predictable, and the more it sets into my sort of rhythm and timing and stuff like that. But I believe Tim Zhu's a good fighter, but I don't believe he hasn't got the skill set I've got in terms of movement, skill, ability, and IQ in the ring when I'm on form. When I'm really on form.
Well, I think that's the secret, isn't it? Like you say, it's the ring IQ here, because you can't sit still for a second with this guy. I was watching the Tim Zhu fight, actually, and Zhu's quite an aggressive fighter himself. And, and he was they were both punching at the same time. I think with this guy, you have to keep moving the whole time. And that's the keys to victory here, isn't it? On the move for 12 rounds, because you can't stand still.
It depends, Spencer. It depends. We'll soon see. I'm a tough kid from Sunderland, so I'm not going to be bullied all the. I mean, the looks might deceive you. I've grown over time, but I was a fat little kid from Sunderland, and I got tossed into boxing, stopped getting bullied. So yeah, that's me. So I'm
actually,
as hard as
Josh. I may as well be honest with you. In the commercial break, we were thrilled that you were joining us, but Spencer, and I'm not calling you out here, Spence, but Spencer did say this Murtazaliev. I mean, Josh is going to have his hands full. This guy is proper fighter. But you know that, don't you?
I hope everyone thinks that, because he's going to make the win even better. That's what I've been telling people. I said, listen, please overrate this guy. Because 2 guys he's fought, Kulkai and Tim Zhu. Tim Zhu, we went in there and had a shootout with him. And that's, I don't know, and he made a stupid mistake, Tim Zhu, going to the body early, which was crazy. Kulkai was life and death, but he said he was fasting during that time. But Kulkai was 38 when he boxed him, and it was a life and death fight, and that was for the vacant IBF title. So them are the 2 guys he's really boxed. So other than that, I'm not going to downplay him. I want him to be this monster, to come in and take me head off. And everything else, and everyone think, oh, Josh is this. The only loss I've ever had was against David Avenation at 147, where I was taking 14, 15 pounds off in 1 morning to make the weight. And there's no way, like now, as a strong, fulfilled man who's got more confidence than ever, the weight's not affecting us anything. I'm in a great position spiritually, mindset-wise. I don't see why I can't go out there and put the performance on and just stand him on his head, but we'll all see on January 31st. That's the beautiful thing about it.
I hope so, Josh. I hope so. I hope it does, Spencer. We all do.
Absolutely. Listen, when you get these opportunities, you have to go in against the champions, and you're always there as the underdog. That's the way that the game works, and it's about feeding off that pressure, turning that into a positive energy. Josh sounds like he's got that. I mean, a question I wanted to ask you as well, Josh. Home arena, Newcastle Arena, for you again. How important is that, getting that fight to land there? Because at times when it is tough and you've got to get down to the trenches, that home advantage can help sometimes.
I mean, it's half at home. I'm from Sunderland myself, but yeah, the lads. It's
closer than where he's from, mate. Trust me.
Yeah, 100%. So all the lads from the northeast are going to be there, and it just feels special when I go out there. It feels special. It feels like I've got this little bit of extra, something there, some energy, and a feeling. And do you know what it is? Just I'm trusting wholeheartedly in the journey and the process and what God's got planned for us. And I believe this is the time now that He's put me here for a big reason. So
come on, Simon, this would be a great achievement.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of Josh Kelly's. I'm obviously Adam Booth trains him. Hopefully he's doing a better job training you at boxing than he's doing with the paddle side of things. Because I've heard about your paddle game, Josh.
I've been hearing about your paddle game.
Has Adam detailed a significant game plan? I'm not expecting you to tell me what it is, but a significant game plan for this fight.
There's 3 or 4 different ways we can do the fight. Obviously, I'm not gonna come in here and explain anything. But like you said, Simon, he does go into depth and he does like to work things out. So there's a few different ways we can go about it. But at the end of the day, if you put me on my best against him and his best, and my attributes against his attributes, I think the only attribute he's got, a couple of attributes he's got better than mine, is probably his length of his shots and his power, how hard he hits, and how strong he is. But other than that, I feel as though I tick every other box.
Have you got the power, Josh? Because that was a question I asked Spence about Dalton Smith going into the Matias fight. Does he have the power to deal with Matias? And he fought him fire for fire. And you sort of bristled at the notion that Spencer was alluding to, which is you got to keep out of range. And Dalton Smith didn't. He fought Subriel Matias' fight and beat him at his own game. Do you think you've got the power to concentrate his mind?
I think I've got the speed, which people don't see coming. When you've got that speed, what people don't see coming, that equals power automatically. Yeah. It's like standing there and getting hit from the side on the slide when it wobbles you. You think, where's that come from? Well, if you take for example all the journeymen in the boxing, they normally don't get stopped because these young kids are coming and they're loading up and they're hitting them with everything and they see everything coming. The shot what you take people out with is a shot they don't see coming. And that's where a lot of my shots land from.
Yeah, Josh, so, I come down the gym, didn't I, not so long ago, actually, to do some stuff with you and David Adelaide. And I've got to tell you, mate, my left arm has never been the same. It's still not right. Like I can't lift weights because I've done. Yeah, it was the left hook. He was working on this. Adam was saying to me, "Feel his left hook, but put the small pads on, Spence. Put the small pads." So I'd done it, and because I was there and I was surrounded by boxers, a little bit ego there, and he's whacking this with a left hook, and my arms like, it's still not recovered, mate. It's still so. The answer to that question to Simon is yes, he has got the power. I think that you've got one punch power, mate. You could take him out at any given chance for sure. Yeah,
just I choose to box at times, but my ego needs repairing as well on this paddle court. So Simon, if you want a game, get down there with Adam because we're getting beat at the moment.
But Adam's useless, Josh.
He says you're a feeding talent. I've heard.
Very good,
Josh. Listen, we wish you well, mate, against this fellow Kelly Akram Mutazaliev, and maybe go about it the way that Sunderland have gone about it in the Premier League. Surprise everybody. Get in there and do the job. Be magnificent if you can do it for us, mate. Well done.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, best of luck, Josh.
Good luck, Josh.
Cheers.
Spence, where do you stand on this? Chris Eubank Jr., we know, lost to Conor Benn, and there was all sorts of questions being asked afterwards about Eubank Jr.'s state of mind, state of fitness, etc. Now we hear expected to return to the ring as a super middleweight this summer. What was your take when you heard that, especially off the back of the fact that everyone was saying, well, this guy's been to hell and back. He might never be back.
Yeah, I thought it was too soon. When I heard that, I thought that, you know, there was that speculation that he'd be returning in the summer. I've actually spoke to his team since then to see if there was any truth in that, and they said no truth in that at the moment. Chris is still recovering, still getting better. He's not 100% right yet, and until he does get better, then he'll make that decision, but it won't be as early as the summer for sure if he does return, and that is a big if. See what his appetite is, see what his health is like, more importantly. If he can make a full 100% recovery, then, you know, you could see him back in the ring possibly in 2026, late 2026, but not in the summer.
I mean, he uploaded a video of himself, Simon, at one stage, a couple of weeks after the fight with Ben, lying in a hospital bed, seemingly unconscious. Doctors performed a medical procedure on him. And now we're talking about when he might be back.
Oh, I don't know what that's all about. I mean, the fact of the matter is he's got a particular condition that's resolvable. It will be resolved. It's what's left of him as a fighter. And at super middleweight, you've got Terence Crawford now vacated. You've got Canelo as a declining force. But I think if he takes a meaningful fight in that division, like against someone like Hamza Shearers, he loses all day. So whilst we enjoy Chris Eubank because he is a spectacle, he's a press conference gold.
Oh, yeah.
As a fighter, I think that's all done.
Right, right. So we shall see. It's if, not when, Chris Eubank Jr. returns. Fresh from his weekend win on US soil, the new WBC super lightweight world champion, Dalton Smith, joins us live in studio. How about that, Spencer? Let's do it.
What a performance. What a performance.
To spontaneous applause. Dalton, I mean, there it is, the spoils of victory. If you're watching on YouTube, Dalton, lift that belt up for me, would you? To one of those cameras over there. That is what it's all about. Can you see it? Yeah. The WBC Super Lightweight World Champion, that is a belt that goes with it. And he stopped Matias in the 5th round to claim the world title in New York. How's it feeling?
I don't think it's really sunk in yet. I was saying to you before I got home and I'm sat in my kitchen looking at that on the side and I'm thinking, how the hell is that in my house? But now obviously it's good. What a weekend. And obviously it's not a shock to me because I always believed I'd be able to do it. But apart from a little bit of jet lag and tiredness, I feel good.
Do you know what, Dalton? I think the beauty surrounding this story is that nothing has been gifted to you. You've had to graft for it, you know, going back to your amateur days. You've always had to prove yourself, and you've gone through that system of winning English, British, Commonwealth, European, world. It's not an easy thing to do that. You've never had any help to get there. You got there, and then the circumstances surrounding all that as well. Yep. Going in there against Matias, who was relentless in his last performance when winning that title. You go in there and you go, you met fire with fire and beat the guy at his own game. And that was the only way that you could do it, wasn't it?
I think, yeah, obviously, I think I could have boxed a little bit more, but...
He was getting momentum when you done that, though, so you met him at his own game, and that effectively, you gassed him out.
But first of all, like, obviously, I never want anything easy anyway. Like, it's boxing. If you want to achieve great things, it's going to be hard. But after the first round, I proved I can box his head off. And then the second round, like, he was on it, he came. And the thing with Sabril is if you keep letting him push you back, he gets momentum. And to be honest, like, he hit me with his best shots, and as the rounds went on, I lost more respect for his power. I mean, as entertaining as it was for everyone else, I was losing respect, and I knew every time he threw, I had an answer for, and I was hurting him. And as the rounds went on, I felt him getting weaker, and he was getting tired, and I thought, your nickname is No Matias, and I'm going to do what you said you was going to do to me, so... I just thought, stick on his chest and I'll get to him.
Did you think there was a moment in that 5th round you thought, this is it, this is my chance?
I mean, obviously it was a high-paced fight, but as much as I took some shots, like, it didn't hurt me. Like, it didn't hurt me, and I was losing respect for his power, but I knew I was gaining his respect for mine. But obviously the knockout came, but obviously there was loads left in my tank. You know, when she gets around 6 and 7, your second wind's going to come anyway. So I just thought, stay on his chest, push him back, show him no respect, and it's a world title fight. We're going to get.
What do you make of it, Simon?
Well, I think it's brilliant. When we had Dalton on the show, talk boxing about 2 or 3 months ago, talking about fighting this guy in Puerto Rico, which was originally where it was going to be, wasn't it? And then you fought wherever you thought that you needed to have the fight. The interesting thing for me was picking up on you saying that you decided to change and bring it to him. At what point you had a good first round? I thought second 2, 3, and 4 were difficult rounds for you, and I was worried for you. At what point did you and your father sit there and go, well, no, we're going to bring the fight to him. We're going to change the direction of travel, because as you said off air, you said we had a game plan. This wasn't the game plan. I decided to change the game plan. When did you decide to do that?
After the first round.
Did you? when you were in ascendancy?
Yes, obviously I knew he was going to come.
Yeah.
And it's either stay on the back foot, box his head off, but he'll close. That's his game plan. And obviously he was on it. He was throwing a lot more shots, and I just felt comfortable in there with him. And me and my dad knew there was going to be hard times in the fight.
Yeah.
So look, Sabril's one of the most feared men in the division. He's been avoided for all them years. And you see the way he fights. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to take your licks. But I answered every question what was asked before.
He's a difficult guy to read, though. And I think that the point that Simon was asking there when he says, like, at what point did you recognise that you had him, is because you fight certain fighters and, he's from that part of the world where the facial expression doesn't change whether you hurt them or you don't hurt them.
Yeah.
And you go, but as a fighter, when you're in there, you hit him with a couple of shots and you hear a little... Or you'll hear something, you go, I got him. He's ready.
I hurt him the first round with
There's a turning point in there where you go, I got this kid.
I remember throwing a slip uppercut in the first round, and I seen his legs dip a little bit. But with Sabril, he shows no emotion.
Nah.
But I knew I'd hurt him, so I got the confidence from that.
What was interesting for me to hear from him was that because we felt, and let's be honest about what we felt that getting him out there in the 5th round was a necessity for Dalton, because we felt that the 2, 3, and 4, talking to Paul, you and Paul, that taking him out in the 5th round was not fortuitous, but was the right thing for Dalton to have done, and the opportunity was there, because potentially going later on the fight, it might have become more troublesome. You're saying that actually, no, his power didn't worry me, and I had plenty more left in the tank.
Honestly, I would have gone. I was there for 12 rounds. Believe me, like the engine wasn't dipping.
I think it was like. When you it was the game plan. I was looking at it and I'm going, so we were having this conversation on the show and I'm looking at it and you go, after round 2, round 3, round 4, I go, now we know Matias, we know the way that he fights. And I go, this kid just gets stronger. The engine's going, Dalton's moving. I go, you have to meet him a fighter here. You got to beat him at his own game here, because otherwise the momentum's going to get too much. Yeah. And you've done that. And I've got to be honest, mate, I'm totally surprised by it, because like when you took him out there, like I don't think anyone could have predicted that, anyone foresee that, because he's never been stopped before, he's never been on the floor before, he's a tough kid, he's been big punches, and you just went out there and ripped up the script. It was a surprise to everyone, and quality performance.
The thing as well, it's obviously everything was against us in the build-up, going overseas, his promotion, even simple things to the flights, they booked us direct flights, we had a connecting flight, we didn't have no direct flights and stuff, and in the old build-up, I thought, no one's respecting my power. They just think I'm going to get in there and just try and outbox him, and no one respected my power. So I know my powers were level, and I was able to prove it.
What about your dad, Grant Smith, who's also your coach?
Yep.
The dynamic of that, how does it work for you? Obviously well.
Obviously well. It's a weird... obviously it's not a typical father-son relationship, but I was fortunate enough to have a sit down with Joe Calzaghe before the build-up to the fight, and that was a dream come true for me, because I was able to, even off camera, speak to Joe, and we had similarities, and I thought, if it's worked for Joe and his dad, and look what they've achieved, I'm in a good place. But of course, me and my dad were very close, but it's weird in the circumstances with father, son, but coach and boxer. But
yeah, it's very unusual that. Like you had it with Lenny
say
Woodall
again, your
and Richie.
father, son, but
boxer and fighter and coach.
Yeah.
So
is it hard to separate?
It is hard, but I've just learned over the years, it's either I can have a dad relationship, or my dad can sacrifice that, and we can go on and achieve, and we've got that right there. So. That's all I need to ask. That's all I need.
What about the celebrations? I hear were you in an Irish pub?
It was an
Imagine that, an Irish pub in New York.
it was a bang across the road from the Barclays Centre. So yeah, they stayed up until all hours till we were finished. So it was good.
We saw some of that online, mate.
Yeah,
It
it
looks like
was
you was
good.
partying hard into
Do you know what?
the early hours.
Very rare drink. I never drink after a fight, but I walked in there and the Guinness tasted good. The Guinness tasted good in there.
I don't want to labour this point, Dalton, but we know about Matias.
Yeah.
Was there ever any doubt about going ahead with this following his failed drugs test previously?
So the first thoughts, obviously, I found out on Instagram when it came out. So your first thoughts are, the fight's off. You know, he's failed a drug test. And we learned pretty quick boxing has a few swings and roundabouts, and the fight still happened. So, you know, after a day, I was just like back in the gym. My dad was like, "This fight's going to happen. Don't take your eye off the ball." So I just blocked everything out, and it did give me more fuel and hunger to go and think, right, basically, fuck you. You know what I mean? Just I'm going to, like, you've tried putting everything against us and this, but the victory is going to be that much sweeter.
Did it not play on the back of your mind, though? You know, when you're talking about, like, I think it was Austrian, wasn't it? The performance-enhancing drug Austrian, and there was traces of it, and I think that the WBC allowed it and put him on probation, which is absolutely absurd because it was under the threshold of whatever it was. And you just go, well, that's what happens when a fighter's washing out of his cycle. So he's clearly, like, if it's in the system, it's in the system. So he's clearly used it. But did that ever play a part in your mind?
I couldn't allow it to.
Right.
You know, the fight was still happening. So it's, again, you play the cards you dealt, and it's either you run away from it or face it head on. So, you know, I just thought it's all a part of the story. And it's
Did it focus your mind on, or, you know, you've got to have a degree of resentment towards the opponent, haven't you? Going into a fight, did that centre it even more, thinking, you know what? Not only am I going to beat you, I'm going to beat you because you're a cheat.
Exactly that. I lost respect for him because I think you've come in here to cheat. And like I said, especially in boxing, PEDs are probably the worst sport to be allowed in. Well, not allowed, but allow it to happen. But
did you say anything to him after the fight?
Of course, it was hard because I wanted to show him respect, but in another instance, I lost respect in the whole process of it.
Sure. What about the journey you've been on? I mean, that belt in front of you, Dalton, now shows that you've reached the destination you were seeking to reach.
Yep.
But how would you describe the journey?
I have no clue. I don't like. Somehow we're here. It's somehow we're here, and it's been. I don't know. I have no words for it yet.
Not sunk in yet.
No, I don't think so.
As a fighter, as a young kid, when you're growing up, the green and gold belt is the belt that everyone wants, isn't it? And like you've achieved the ultimate goal. So I just go like, you know, like for you, it just must be such a sweet feeling.
He must also be celebrated and applauded and rewarded.
Absolutely.
Because he's won a world title. It's one of those divisions that doesn't gain the attention that it should get. Josh Taylor didn't get the attention that he should have got when he was a 4-belt holder in this. What he's done is remarkable. It's a great division. There's great fighters in this division. Teofimo Lopez is in there. Gary Russell's in there, who seems to be inactive.
Yeah.
You've now got everyone will make the noise about Adam Azim. That will come at some time, and I'd like to see him fight Adam Azim. If Adam Azim goes and fights Richardson Hitchens, wins that, I'd love to see a fight between these guys. But right now, what he should be getting is all the recognition, all the plaudits, and all the celebration because he's a world title holder in a really competitive division.
And Dalton, you're a world champion. So, do you think you're above a fight with Adam Azim?
Of course, and you know, boxing's one of those. It's you can win no matter what. You can achieve the best thing in the world. You know, become a world champion. Boxing doesn't allow you to enjoy it because it's always who's next or someone else gets talked about. But it's like I don't want to put a downer on Adam Azim, but I've earned my stripes, and you know, I deserve those big fights.
And the big fight might be you against the winner of Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson.
Exactly that, and I believe I've earned my position to go and get those fights. Go and get a big fight at Hillsborough. You know, I'm in that position now, so you know, I don't want to put a downer on Adam Azim, but of course, go and win your world title.
Yeah.
I'm supporting you. I want you to go and do it.
And then we'll talk,
And then we'll talk. Lopez Stevenson, who wins it?
Yep. I think it's a 50-50 fight, but if I have to pick, I'm going Shakur on points.
You're going to go to it?
Possibly, yeah. More than likely, I'll be there.
And how would you feel about fighting either?
without blowing smoke up my arse, I'm a world champion. I'm eligible to be in a ring with any of the champions.
It's been a tricky season for Sheffield Wednesday, hasn't it?
It's been hard to watch and be a part of.
Yeah, yeah. And I think for every Sheffield Wednesday fan watching and listening this lunchtime, you've done something really positive for them because you're one of them, aren't you?
Of course. And to be honest, Saturday night there was a big bunch of Wednesdayites there, and like you said, I feel honoured for them to straight after Christmas to pay all that money to come to New York and make a special night like we did, because they was loud. There was really loud. So I feel like it is my duty to give something back to the club, and I think good things are coming. The future's looking bright for the club. But I'll be there Saturday. To get there to see everyone, and we've just got to look at a bright future for the club.
Great way to finish today's show, Dalton. I think Spencer, myself, Simon are delighted that you've managed to come and join us in the show. So, WBC Super Lightweight World Champion, Dalton Smith, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Brilliant. Magnificent. What more can be said?